Lucas, made in England and hated everywhere. I've got a Lucas headlight to mount up on the old Sabre Cafe. Welcome to Hack a Week. So how cool is this? I've got a Lucas headlight bucket off from a old Triumph Tiger. Picked it up on eBay, got it for less than 30 bucks. What a deal. So we're gonna mount this up on the Sabre Cafe, and then I think we can mount the gauges on the top of the thing here. I've got 3 holes to work with. Somebody asked me if this was the Lucas headlight that had the 3-position switch, those positions being off, flicker, and dim. I thought that was pretty funny. We'll have some more Lucas jokes before the end of the video. So anyway, let's see how this mounts up on the existing brackets I have. So this thing takes a special fixture inside there, but you know what? I'm gonna see if maybe I can adapt a halogen bulb into it. It might be kind of cool. And there's a secondary, let's see if you can see it. See that other small outlet? I could actually use that for a low beam, I suppose. We'll play around with it, but anyway, let's see how it mounts up here. We'll set it right in there like that, and I've got some 7/16 stay. 7/16 by 20 threads per inch bolts that go inside here. Let's see if we can get those started and get an idea of what this is going to look like on here. I really like it because it's a nice old school headlight bucket, and it's got a ton of room in the back for me to be able to tuck the wiring into. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. And I think I can get the instrument cluster to just mount like right up on top of it, come up with something where I can just bolt it directly to the headlight bucket, and that'll sit up there real nice. Let's get a look from the side here. Yeah, that looks good. I like it. And the instrument cluster, like I said, will sit right there. Here's what you'll be seeing from the rider position, pretty much right there. I like. Well, let's figure out how we can mount that instrument cluster onto that headlight bucket. I'm gonna try something out here. I've got these little signal lights that have a mounting stud on them. I think maybe I can just do something like that and mount the headlight directly with the little mini signal light. So we'll just give it a little trial fit here, and my only concern is how tight I'll be able to get this nut on this stud, because it's only backing up against this rubber with a metal insert behind it, and it's going to have all the weight of the instrument cluster up on top. So the only way to really tell if that's going to be able to stay tight enough is to just try it out. Just hook it all up and see just how stiff I can get the headlight to be in that mount. I think these wires that are on here, these ends, will pretty much plug right into the existing wiring harness too. At least one of them. It's 2 females, or 2 males, so I guess we'll find out later. Get these tightened up here. Get the signal light pretty much pointing forward, headlight about where I think it needs to be. Yeah, roughly there. Close enough for now. Can always adjust that later once I get everything up and running and it's out on the road. Okay, well, they are on there, and hey, that's really solid. I can barely move it, so I don't think there'll be a problem mounting the instrument cluster there. I don't think vibration is going to cause any issues with it tilting or moving around on me. So let's see how much room we've got here now. Oh man, this is great. This is going to work out really good. I'm thinking a little different route now that I look at this. I think I'm going to use this screw, that screw, and that one right in there, because they're all on the same plane along here, and I can make a piece of aluminum that will attach on that screw, that screw, that screw, and come off from here, and then I can do something with that and take it up to right here onto the top tree. Maybe take advantage of that mount point, or that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. I've got a lot of them here that I can work with, that I can just put a bolt through and attach it that way. I've got a chunk of aluminum I'm going to use to mount this onto the upper tree on the triple tree. But before I cut that out, I've got to make a template. So I'm making a template here out of a piece of cardboard. I do this a lot with stuff before I go chopping up metal. And I'm going to mount this up on some holes that are right here on the back. There's a hole there, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes that I can utilize. And then I'll make some spacers to stand this off about 2 inches from this base, from this piece of hollow aluminum tube. There's the template. 4 screw holes, and there are the screws that I use to measure everything from. Now I just need to make the spacers and put those on there, mount this up, and then cut it to size so it can mount over here on that hole and that hole. I'm going to back out that bolt right there, and I'll be using some long bolts and spacers to space it off from the piece of aluminum that will sit down in here like this. I've got a piece of aluminum on here now with the spacers all set up properly and leveled out with the instrument cluster. As you can see, it's at the same parallel, and I stuck them in place with a little bit of hot glue. So now I can take this back off and put the cardboard template on and then match it up to the bike. I have the cardboard template attached here. Now I'm going to tuck this down in about where I think I want it. And right about there looks pretty good because of where the cardboard falls. So I've got the 2 bolts in place. And this one I can just pretty much drop through and it's going to line up. And I can just reach down there with a Sharpie and make a little mark where that one's going to go. And then this one is a little trickier because it wobbles around in the bolt hole. So I'll just have to get an approximation. Okay, the holes are in there, and I've actually trimmed out some of the excess parts that I don't need. Let's try a trial fit here now with the bolts through the holes that I marked. See how they line up. It looks pretty good. It's that's right where I wanted it. I'm going to drill some holes in this to lighten it up a bit. Plus it'll just look cool. Cool. Alright, let's mount this up on the instrument cluster. I'll tighten these by hand because it's plastic. I don't want to strip them. I could really easily strip them by doing it with the drill. Okay, time to mount it up. Yeah, it's going to vibrate and wiggle around a little bit. I kind of thought that was going to happen, but it's not terrible. And if I put that rubber bumper, like I said, behind here between this and the headlight bucket, that should do the trick. Cool. Before I do the final mount up on the instrument cluster, there's a little thing I got to take care of here. I've got these holes in the top of this headlight bucket. I don't want those to be open anymore. So I'm just going to put some fiberglass inside here and lay up a piece of mat on there, and that'll take care of that. But before I do that, I don't want it to run all over the outside here, so I'll put some tape over the holes on the outside, and then when I put my fiberglass on the inside, it won't run out all over the place and screw up the outside of the headlight bucket. Easy peasy. We'll paint a little resin on first, and then stick the mat in place over the holes. And wet out the mat. There we go, all plugged up. And while I'm at it in here, and I've got some resin left over, I'm just going to paint it on the inside here on some of these rusty spots as kind of a sealer so the rust doesn't get any worse. Epoxy resin's pretty good for that. Seals up rust quite well. This is all cured up now and ready to mount back on the bike. You can see those holes are plugged up now. I'll paint those black later. Back here on the bike, I've got the instrument cluster all mounted up, and I redid the piece of aluminum down here and left it solid. There was a little bit of wiggle there that I didn't like, and I was a little bit crooked this way, so now it's straighter, much better. It's a lot more solid. It's still going to jiggle a little bit, but like I said, I'll put that piece of rubber in here. So let's get the headlight mounted back on and see what this all looks like. Everything's mounted back up. Let's have a look at this beastie up close. I like those little bitty signal lights. I really, really like that round headlight. That is exactly the look I was after. And as you can see, the gauges don't stick up so high anymore. They look much, much better. A lot more cafe racy style. And you can see them real well from rider's position. That would be right about here. And like I mentioned earlier, that aluminum plate is a lot stiffer now. I'll put a little bit of rubber bushing material right between there and the headlight once I get the headlight all mounted up the way I like it. Now I have the wiring to do. Lots of wiring. I've got to hook up all of the stuff to the lights and to the instrument cluster. I need to look up a wiring harness for a 94 CBR 900RR. And get all that stuff done. That'll be in the next episode, along with some more fiberglass on this tank. We'll go ahead and finish filling in this area and start laying up some glass. Next episode, I promise. I gotta get riding this thing. Well, that's about it for this weekend, because it's the 4th of July weekend and I've got some time off, and I'm gonna go have some playtime because the weather's beautiful. Finally, it's been raining like crazy here. So anyway, till next time. So how come in England all they serve is warm ale? Because Lucas makes all the refrigerators. Did you hear Lucas it makes vacuum cleaners now? Yeah. They finally make something that doesn't suck.